So Phoenix, I'm going to introduce him. I'm going to give you a heck of an introduction. I was at PorkFest. Phoenix was in the aisle across from me. I didn't know he was living the van life. I thought he was just another camper, and he's got his art. Now, Phoenix's art, he was doing at that point aerosol spray can art. Right now, speaking of other things we get, sucked into, like Polly gets lots of hobbies. I get a lot of hobbies. Ernie Hancock gets a lot of hobbies. I'm into acrylic pouring right now, that type of painting. So we could talk paints and methodologies later. But Phoenix had tight artist skills. He's got his paintings up for sale. He made a custom AUTONOMY painting for us while we were there. And I thought, by the time I got to know him and stuff, I thought, wow, he would be such a great success story if he only had access to AUTONOMY. Like, this person has aptitude, and he's got compassion, and he's got this je ne sais quoi. I don't know what. He's affable. People, he's easy to talk to, right? And he could have a higher position and station in life if he just had access to some methods, maybe a nice community, these sort of things. So it was like a test, right? This course was kind of out of his reach at the van life stage, but he's able to do a little work trade. He was able to put a little money together. He got himself into the course, and then he showed up for himself, and he continued to grow and grow and grow. And now he's a VP of sales over at a law firm. He's a highfalutin character in the world of white collar people these days. So Phoenix, are you here and available, or did I just was I on mute the whole time? What happened?
No, you're golden. What's going on, Autonomizers? How you doing? It's your boy Phoenix. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're there because you have it's your quiet space, no longer your domicile, right?
That's correct. Well, actually, I was taking my kid to the haunted house for the first half. I was pretty concerned that I wasn't going to be able to make it. But the fates aligned, and here I am. So we're actually just out right now. I just gave her a hug, but goodbye. And so now I'm back in the van, not because I live here, but just happened to be happenstance. It always seems to be that way. I'm always in the car.
So what season was that way back when?
That was season 6. Same as Cody.
Season 6. It's right after what Mike Delaney would call the best season ever, season 5. Everyone thinks whatever season they went through is the best season ever. I don't know. And then when you got into the course, what were some of your specific overwhelms and challenges?
Oh, biggest overwhelms and challenges. I would have to say definitely getting to realign my value structure. I held my consistency with anarchistic and libertarian principles extremely high. It's to the point where I held it above my commitments to my family. And the first season, that was one of the biggest breakthroughs that I had, was realizing that my values were completely misaligned, and I was refusing to wear masks so much that I was not doing activities with my kids, and I had very limited time with them because I don't live with them. So it was a huge loss, and realizing that mistake was probably one of the bigger changes in my life.
That was one of the most memorable Sunday Q&A conversations, was just working through that one issue. And I remember we were like demonstrating how to do the blueprint calls, and we got into solving real problem for you. And it just seemed like you had passion, and you had a reason for your stance and positions, right? And you felt like you're in the right, and that it's not quite like you're doing the right thing. You had good intentions, right? But when you described the situation, and I was like, well, but what about this? And you're like, oh yeah, me holding my ground on this position is denying these experiences with my kids right now. And you traded a lower priority to achieve a higher priority. And most people aren't willing to make those brave steps and those courageous changes like that. So I know it wasn't easy, but neither was staying in that situation without resolution, right? So it's like, it's going to be hard either way. Why not get the better result out of the thing, and have some more intention and activity into it? Where did you come across the change where you start working at a law firm and doing sales and this sort of stuff?
Ironically, that was I was kind of job hopping. I spent most of season 6 on the road. I was driving expedited freight, living out of a van, literally, living down in a van by the river. And a buddy of mine helped me get kind of a little bit more clarity and realize that, I need to just quit the dang van life stuff and go back home, whatever hell or high water, whatever that may be. And so that day I told my boss, hey, I'm going back home. I need to get off the road. And within a week I was back home and had no job. Nothing. Was like, okay, crap. Now what do I do? Luckily, my kid's mom and our relationship is fairly good. So I was able to stay at their place for a while I got everything set up. And I took a job with Amazon. That was not fun, especially because my knees are terrible. The Marine Corps did a number on those. And so running back and forth from house to house to house to house to house all day long was rough. So I started transitioning over to an old job that I had at one of the bars in the area. And as I was transitioning over to that job, I decided, you know what, let me just take a look on Indeed, see what's available. And there was a sales position for a law firm. I was like, nah, there's no way I could actually do sales for an attorney. Like, that's gross. They take their oath to the bar association. Why on earth would I ever want to violate my integrity like that and work for these scumbags? But I pulled the trigger because one of the main skills that I wanted to develop was sales, and I probably watched lecture 8, which you find little youngins will get to probably about 15, 20, 30 times, something like that. And it really helped me to develop those skills. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just pull the trigger. We'll see. If I don't get the job, I don't get the job. They're not going to hire an anarchist. I'll just tell them the truth, and then I won't have to worry about it. They'll be
Yeah,
like,
it's
no,
not
go
like
away.
they cut your finger off if they say no, right?
Right.
But you had the courage at one point to see this thing and you're like, nah, I can't do that. And then you're like, maybe I could do this. And you talked yourself into it just as well as you could have talked yourself out of it.
Yeah, most
And
certainly.
then you gave yourself a chance. And then they're like, you're plenty good enough to come over here and do the thing. They're like, we need someone to do the thing. Do you take money? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, okay, great. Right. People think it's like rocket science or this undiscernible, thing that they can't figure out. And it's like, it's right there for us to step up and ask for if you have a good offer and they have a need.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So I during the interview, it was a long interview process. I did three interviews total. And in the final one where I was in the law firm, I'm pretty much interviewing the attorney, grilling him on everything, just going through all the same stuff. Yeah, Stephen, it is.
Yeah.
But then just going through all the same stuff. Hey, we're doing it live. That's
We're
how we
doing it
go.
live, and that was a hot mic. He was the first hot mic of the season. And hot Mike
Oh, nice.
Delaney wasn't here to witness it, but you don't get the nickname because that's Delaney still, but you had the first hot mic of the season, Stephen. Well done. And it wasn't even embarrassing. That's the best case of the worst case there, bro. Go ahead, Phoenix.
So yeah, I just started grilling the attorney about why he got started getting into law, why he wanted to practice, what the history of the law firm was, where they went to school, what him and his
So
partner,
you
where they
interviewed
met.
him, it sounds like.
Oh yeah,
Because you
pretty
got
deep.
skills in the first couple of weeks of this course. Yeah, good. How else?
Yeah, it was about a 2.5 hour interview where I was interviewing him for probably a good hour or so. And I didn't lie about anything. I was fully upfront about every single aspect, thinking, I'm not going to get the job anyway, so it won't matter. Come to find out, they, contacted me about a week later and made an offer, and I was like, holy cow, okay, this is really happening. I guess I'm stepping up in the world, and now I'm dressing nicely every day. This is not, unfortunately, this is not because of tonight's meet and greet. This is just the clothes that I
It's
wear
just
these
how he
days, every single
rolls.
day. Yeah.
All right.
I my schedule has certainly gotten much fatter. I have almost no time whatsoever, so I literally haven't been home yet. Because of I've been able to develop my relationship with my kids much more now, and I've got more responsibilities, and I started coaching kids football and all kinds of other stuff, and so I don't
That's
want to
awesome.
tangent too far.
All right. Now that we've heard that great success story from you, let me tell the audience how I almost messed it up for Phoenix. All right. So Phoenix is like, he says, I'm going to go try to get this job and they might need a reference. Can I put you down as a reference? And I'm like, sure, dude. And then like a month later, I get a strange voicemail and it's such and such law firm and they're calling for a reference for Ken. And I was like, I don't know any Ken. And I didn't return the call. Phoenix's real name is Ken. And I realized this a couple weeks later, and I'm like, I blew his job opportunity. If I had just answered this one voicemail, I could have made sure. But he got a job anyway. He didn't need my stinking reference. Well played. And yeah, sorry about that. I'm human too.
It's
I
unfortunate because I've been trying to sell him on using Autonomy Unlimited for the marketing and everything because he needs some better marketers, honestly. But he's got his team and he's set on it. But we actually
That's
did
all
a
right.
sales training with Jeb Blount, an all-day sales training with him for his sales gravy sales system last Friday. I guess he ended up spending like 45 grand on it. All kinds of oof. Brought
I'm
the guy,
sure.
flew him out, spent 20 grand. I was like, man, all this could have gone
That's
to
cheap sales
autonomy.
training. You
Dang it.
should learn how to do that gig next. That traveling sales trainer for those that's kind of what Ron does. Only he does the accountability coaching. Like you could partner up and go to those places and
Well,
large.
because of the skills that I developed through autonomy, I started, you know, there was a couple of sales classes that we had that you were offering, and I had taken some really good notes. And you're like, hey, you want to facilitate a couple of these for us? And that became a pretty regular thing for a few months, where I was teaching a basic intro to sales course.
Yeah, that was between
Weekly,
the seasons. That's the
yeah,
summertime course,
weekly
summer
weekend.
school.
It was really fun. I was able to develop a lot more of my skills, as well as transmit the basics of sales and the sales process.
You muted yourself, or someone muted you. Let's say it's a word. There you go. Doing it live. You're cool, but I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah,
Audio
you're
check
good.
one.
Check. So
Where did
to
I
get
leave
you
off? My
back,
apologies.
that's all right. No, there's a little Zoom delay. This is all par for the course. So moving forward, I just wanted to ask this last question because I know the answer for Justin, and if Justin's still here, we'll have him share his story. But have you had to do anything unethical that would break your integrity, ruin your reputation? Has your employer asked you, and like as a way to make sales, Phoenix, you can't tell the customers the truth. You can't be honest with these people. Have you had to do any of that? And if so, if they ever asked you to, what would be your situation reaction, thoughtful
At
response
this
to
point,
that?
I kind of feel like, yeah, I'm actually contemplating not staying with the firm at this point because a lot of the sales training over the last couple of weeks has been feeling more like they're asking me to take manipulative measures in order to close some of these clients, and that's dropped my mindset really low. I actually Today was the last day of the quarter. I didn't make my sales goal. I've had 4 sales in the last 2 weeks when I was doing about 7 a week, and so like I'm actually considering leaving the firm at this point, um, just because I'm not comfortable with the methods that this gentleman Jeb Blount is pushing. He said stakeholder about 37 times in the first 4 chapters of his book. He has
Yeah.
this whole
So he's a
caveat
Klaus
area.
Schwab. Yeah, he's a Klaus
Yeah,
Schwab.
it
Like
it, it totally.
Schwabites.
Yeah, it definitely smells of it.
So what you can do is say, hey, boss, that was great training. Really appreciate it. Do I have to adopt those techniques, or can I remain doing it? Because you already sold the package that no one at their company could sell before, right? So you've already proven your chops that your methodology works. Is there a reason like if it ain't broken, why fix it with something that is broken? And if they let you stay there and work like you are, you might have to work with some people who are doing that, and that sucks. But as long as you can keep serving the client as you would, even if that employer wasn't involved, you're building on solid ground. And if they get to the point where like, no, we want you to up your percentage by pressuring these people in their time of need or whatever the situation might be, and they want you to push on those 7 deadly sins, like, put a pressure on them, you don't need that. You have a resume, you got strong skills, you can go work wherever. And there are honest lawyers out there helping good people, and they do need salespeople and marketing people. And we have to learn how to discern in between. Uh, I know Justin had a job where he had to leave because they asked him to lie to his clients. I said, good for you. Now go find someone who you can tell the truth to, that knows you got fired because you won't lie to clients, and they value that. That's the place you want to work. But you had to go through the first step of experiencing like, oh, that's the norm in the industry. They want you to deceive in order to make the sale. Why not help people understand? And then they take action voluntarily. Like if it's such a good idea, why do we have to force people to do it?
Well, that's my next few plans are to develop counseling some type of counseling company, as well as create some sales training courses that can be some type of evergreen. Click here, $150. Here's a 7 step course. on sales training. So those are the next couple of ideas that I've got coming up in my pipeline for me. But I do have to jump off here. I'm getting my
Yeah,
phone
good.
blown up. So finally being having family around is they're now they're demanding time. So
Good. Excellent. That's all because of your doing, because of good intention and good work ethic. So I'm proud of you. Get back to it, and happy Halloween in advance, because I know that's coming up too. Gotta start buying costumes and stuff.